Welcome to week 2 of the Elestriad, where IronBoffin, representing Demeter and the Earth Pantheon, is taking on Drewby, representing Alis and the Wind Pantheon. If you missed their deck profiles, I'll have a link to the description below, as they both opened up new packs to add to their card repertoire and ultimately build epic decks to throw down. This week's showdown is really interesting because Boffin sports a ton of removal with his Earthquakes. He's got obviously those equal links to take care of runes. He's got a big defensive backbone, and Arrowmare, a crucial piece to this clash because it can stop Sorlet's defense changing effects and be able to hold it down from that perspective. But Drewby's got a very cool strategy, bringing a lot of wind. Of course, that Pantera has his own Arrowmares, lots of Pikas, and is bringing Tsunamis and Veritaquas to get through the defensive backbone that is the Earth element. This one's gonna be a doozy. Be sure to hit that like button down below and subscribe if you guys are new, and you guys can leave a comment down below who you think is gonna take this clash, as they are both fighting for, well, Boffin's fighting for his first win, and Drewby's going to try to go 2-0 to start the Elestriad. Let's dive into the clash. Oh, and don't forget, you guys can go to shop@Elestrals.com to pick up some sweet starter decks, merch, and more. All right, here we go. It looks like Drewby is kicking it off and going with an Arrowmare on the first turn of the game. I will say, if you are starting off turn 1, there's really no downside to putting Arrowmare into defense position, so I'm a little surprised to see him go in attack position right here. I think you probably just take advantage of the higher defense stat unless you have some sort of counter runes there. So a little bit of feedback there for Drewby, but IronBoffin gonna throw down with the Nectar of the Gods. Turn 1, getting a nice draw 2. That's gonna really expand his hand size and his options, and that's really crucial at the early part of the game when you have a lot of spirits, right? We've talked about those late game Nogs, not as impactful as the early game ones. 2 Earth Spirits hit the field and an Earthquake targeting down the Arrowmare. That's going to be an interesting play from Boffin. It's going to give him the early advantage on the field, but it takes away one of his most crucial counters to Hydrake and Pantera later on. Equal Links drops down and is going to have a free attack into Drewby's Spirit deck. Generally, with Equal Links, you want to save it until you can activate its Nexus effect. It seems as though, unless he has, you know, the Foley Forest or a Demeter or a Scythe the Demeter, he's not going to be able to really take advantage of that. But he does immediately put some pressure on Drewby in the fact that now Drewby has to take care of that Equal Links if he wants to utilize any sort of runes, right? Because if you allow Boffin a chance to cast a new Elestral, he's going to have, opportunities to Nexus around and do some shenanigans like that. So Drewby is going to throw down a Thunder Spear right out the gates. Will this be an Elechick? It's going to be a Boombatt, actually. Boombatt in the early game. Drewby rocking a little bit of a Thunder package based on some of his pulls. And he's going to Boombatt away that Equal Links. This isn't the worst situation for IronBoffin, though, because IronBoffin is going to have all the opportunities in the world to cast out an Elestral here and hit a direct attack and kind of gain the momentum in the clash, which is often tough to do when you're the person who goes second. That's where that Earthquake comes in, and it tells us that Drewby doesn't have any other Elestrals in his hands outside of that Boombatt, right? Otherwise, he probably would have cast them. So, an Ambrosia here, early game Ambrosia from IronBoffin to regen 3 spirits, get him right back into the game here. Now, the Earth deck only carries 1 Ambrosia, so Boffin has been kind of looking for more Ambrosias. One of the cool strategies you can use in Earth is the Fruit combo deck, which utilizes Drataya plus Ambrosia to draw cards while you regenerate spirits. I'm looking for Boffin later in the Elestriad to grab another deck and try to pick up 2 more Ambrosias, because he hasn't quite grabbed those yet. He's going to be looking for those Golden Apple of Discords as well at some point. Giraflora hits the field and is going to be able to search his Underworld and add another Elestral back to his hand. This is really clutch, grabbing that Equal Links, potentially being able to set up for a play later on and deal with some runes, those Tsunamis and things like that. He's actually going to put it in defense position, which I do think is probably the optimal play. You're going to miss out on hitting directly on Drewby for 1 spirit, but you have a much stronger body in defense position here to be able to withstand an attack from Drewby on the following turn, especially knowing that he hadn't drawn an Elestral, right? Like, if Boombatt was your best option, then that's your kind of your window of opportunity there, in my opinion, to set up a defense, right? I think that that's a smart play. And especially since we kind of know what Drewby's rocking, right? He's got those Elechicks and things like that. So that 4 defense may be able to withstand an attack from some of those Elestrals. Pikas is another one, right? That's another Elestral that we know Drewby's rocking a bunch of. And by keeping it in defense position, you're going to be able to thwart off some of those attacks. But Drewby's going to play his own Ambrosia, regen a few spirits. Here comes a Water Elestral. Is this the Veritaqua? Here in the early game, it is going to be the Veritaqua. So after all that discussion about how great Giraflora in defense position is, Veritalk was going to do the thing, and it's going to actually just straight up knock out the Giraflora, but it wasn't going to matter. Whether Flora was an attack or defense position made no difference here. Now, we do see Drewby set a rune face down, and if I'm a betting man, I'm thinking that's a Tsunami, right? Boffin's not really carrying any sort of water, doesn't really have any way to deal with Tsunami. We're going to see that Hollow Spirit Lycanus hit the field, and it's going to be a Tornado to blow it back. Oh, baby, what a play. I think he just stopped that Tsunami from foiling his Equal Links plans. A great play from IronBoffin. Tornado's not a card we see a ton of in the metagame. I actually think it has quite a bit of usefulness, especially if we see a surge of Divine Runes, as you can kind of bounce those cards back before they're able to utilize all the spirits on them. And just overall, a really cool play there from IronBoffin, bouncing the rune back. I really think it was probably Tsunami. He's going to be able to hit directly for one. And now Piga is going to hit the field and pop that back row. Boffin not carrying his poison-tipped arrows in this clash. This is a situation where poison-tipped arrow could have been chained here, and it could have actually dealt with that Piga. So I'm looking for Boffin to try to utilize those PTAs in future clashes. One of the benefits of the Earth Starter deck is that you do get poison-tipped arrow, which is a reliable form of removal. It's kind of like similar to Earthquake in a way, but on a more defensive perspective. And I think in the deck that he's running, poison-tipped arrow makes a lot of sense. So again, looking to see that later on as the Elestriad develops out. But the Shield of Achilles not going to be useful here. That Piga is going to be able to deal with it pretty well. And now we're going to see another Elestral hit the field. This may be the Arrow Mare. No, it's a Piga of his own. I love that play. Piga is going to be able to go after that face down rune. If it's Tsunami, he can play it. It is Tsunami. We nailed it. I'm curious if Boffin knows that he's going to be able to change his Equal Links back to attack position here. Both Elestrals do go to defense, but because Equal Links was cast on the prior turn, it's still able to change his position back to attack here. This is a really big play, and I don't know if he knows it. I think he doesn't know it, so that's huge. That's actually huge. So let me kind of recap how that plays out. Because Equal Links was cast previously and we weren't in battle phase, we were still in main phase, Equal Links did have the freedom to change to attack position there, and it makes a huge difference because now there's an Ascension. Twindra hits the field. Twindra's going to be able to mow over that Equal Links. If he had attacked on the previous turn, that Pigas would not have been there. This is a huge play. And now Boffin doesn't have that Earthquake anymore, and he's going to lose his Equal Links. Oh my goodness, a huge misplay there. So, oh man, that's hard to see because you just know that it was just one decision away from being a completely different clash at this point. And, you know, Boffin's not out of it, right? He still has a Pigas. He looks like he has a Nectar of the Gods. That's going to get him 2 more cards. He's got a few things in his deck that could help handle this Twindra here. If he has like a Sprouter or something, he can kind of thwart it off. Keep it from really doing anything right now. That Pigas is holding it down. He has opportunities to ascend, maybe into like a, say, Timber, even if it's misenchanted. Spinosect is another thing that we know he's rocking in his deck. That could come out. We're going to see a Thunder Spirit into a Boombatt. Oh my god, it's the perfect play from IronBoffin. And he's going to be able to Boombatt the Twindra off the field and then hit with a Pigas. I love it. What a play. What a clutch moment for that Boombatt to show up and deal with that Twindra. A huge play from IronBoffin in the exact timing that he needed. So a big misplay on not understanding the Tsunami mechanics, but is able to redeem himself and get himself right back into the clash with a huge Boombatt. Here comes Sorlet though for Drewby. His ace up his sleeve, Sorlet representing 5 attack, and it's going to be able to mow down a lot of these Elestrals. This is where Boffin can get kind of creative and try to cast a 5 defense Elestral in defense position with a Wind Spirit. It looks like he's not going that route, but rather considering casting something with an Earth Spirit. Now, reminders, he can misenchant something like a Sprouter in defense position and stop the Sorlet from being able to change his position, but he does not do that. Rather, he's going to be able to search out his Scythe of Demeter, perhaps setting up for a future play. So I can't judge this play just yet, right? I think we need a little bit more insight as to what Boffin's looking to execute here, but he's going to grab that Scythe of Demeter, and at the very least, he's going to force that Sorlet to have to expend to change the position of Sprouter if he has that opportunity, right? Like if there's no need for it. We know Drewby's got those Veritakwas, so that could play a factor here, but I think if you're Drewby, you're just going to change the position here. You're going to expend that 1 wind. You're going to change the position of the Sprouter, and then you're going to be able to attack over. And it seems like that's going to be Drewby's play. He's going to go for it. Looks like he's going to go for the attack. No other cast coming out here, so we see just that. And I think we're headed towards a good moment for a listening as Drewby is taking the advantage here. What does Boffin have?
Earth Spirit. Yeah. To enchant my Tectoros. And then I'll also use 2 Earth Spirits to enchant my Tectoros with a Scythe of Demeter. So Scythe will give him +2 attack, +3 defense, so that makes him 5/2. And then his effect is he gets +1 attack for each enchanting Earth Spirit. So he's at 5 + 3, so he's at 8.
What's the second effect of the Scythe?
Scythe is when the empowered Elestral destroys an Elestral in battle, I can return 1 Earth Spirit from the underworld to my deck. If Demeter is enchanted, I can return 2 Earth Spirits instead.
Okay.
So I will attack your Sorlet with my 8/5.
I take no damage though, right? Both
right.
1.
Yes, because I only have 1, and then I get to return an Earth Spirit from my underworld to my Spirit deck.
A huge play from Boffin there, utilizing that Scythe of Demeter that he pulled from Sprouter on the prior turn. Now it's just a matter of, does Drewby have a response here? We saw Drewby already utilize his Tsunami. We saw him use a Boombatt. Does he have another Boombatt as a Thunder Spirit hits the field? He does have another Boombatt. Drewby drops the second Boombatt of the game. This has been a crazy clash back and forth as both casters vie for proper field position here. Boffin's gonna draw. Looks like he's got a play. Let's see what he's gonna do. A Wind Spirit hits the field. Will this be a Pegas or an Arrowmare? It's gonna be Arrowmare into attack position. That's gonna give him that field presence and be able to hit Drewby directly for 1 Spirit. It seems like both these casters have had just the perfect card at just the right moment to be able to get back in the clash. Now, if you're Drewby, you are looking for one thing right now. If you can get a Hydrake, you pretty much guarantee the win. Hydrake crashes into Arrowmare and brings out a Twindra and is gonna hit for 2, and that would be so much pressure. Aeolus or Hydrake gets you there. Does Drewby have that answer? Based on his hesitation, he does actually. Aeolus hits the field. If you're Drewby, again, I think you go Hydrake here. He has to decide how many do I want on this. There's also an opportunity where Exaltair could make some sense if he wants to really set up for a late game, as you can hit pretty hard, but I think he's just gonna take the 2 on Aeolus and get his 1 search. Does he have the double Twindra? I'd have to double check the decks to make sure of, but we'll have to see here. He can grab that Hydrake, he can grab a Sorlet. He's got a couple different options. I personally like the Hydrake play because, again, you just get your Twindra out and then you force Boffin to deal with that another way. So it looks like he is going to cast something. It's going to be the Arrowmare. He grabs Arrowmare into defense position and opts to go with a more defensive play. I'm a little surprised about that. It tells me that maybe he's trying to set up for a future turn. Maybe he's considering, an Ascension later on. I'm very surprised to see that play, though, because I do think that he had an opportunity there to do something big with, with either a Sorlet or a Hydrake. So Spine Imp gonna hit the field, and then I think we're gonna see a defensive play from Arrowmare. That's a smart choice if he does indeed make the choice. He is gonna swap Arrowmare to defense position. I think that's a really smart play from IronBoffin. He's kind of fortifying into his defenses now, and we know he's got that Spinosect. He's got 2 really cool ways to set it up. Does have to worry about some of those other plays from Drewby here, but it seems as though we see the Glidesdale. That's what Drewby was aiming for. He was looking to ascend into Glidesdale. It all makes sense now. Glidesdale can attack twice in each battle phase because of his ascension onto Arrowmare. He does have to enchant the Arrowmare, which I think he's recognized now, but now he has protection from Arrowmare on his Glidesdale, and Glidesdale can attack twice. The play here is you attack the Arrowmare first, and then you attack the Spine Nymph, and you give Boffin a chance to essentially cling it to him. So we'll see how that's going to play out, but it seems like that's going to be the case. And then if Boffin wants to use that Spinosect, he's not going to use it. Oh man, I think there might have been a misplay there. I think Boffin needed to use that Spine Nymph there. I might have missed something. I'd have to recheck on Arrowmare's effect, but we're going to see the Spine Nymph not end up coming into play. Another Spine Nymph hits the field. I don't think that was misenchanted. I'm a little surprised to not see him make that play, as now Glidesdale has free reign to attack multiple times in the clash. He didn't use the Spine Nymph. I'm very, very interested there. I'm going to pause for a second. Okay, so I do want to clarify a point here. The Arrowmare says that it can't be targeted, but Spine Nymph doesn't actually target. It actually empowers. So I think in this case, there was just a misunderstanding from Boffin's end of how Spine Imp works, but I don't see any downside to having Spine Imp become an artifact on Glidesdale to drop its attack to 0 and essentially make it so it would have to use its second effect to boost its attack to do anything. I think that was, you know, kind of a misplay there. It seems is because he could have had this Glidesdale's attack at 0, and then this turn he would have been able to attack over with Spine Imp. So Spine Imp, it looks like this one's gonna get attacked, but he wants to use the effect this time. So maybe the previous one was misenchanted. I'm a little unsure about that. But this time he is gonna use the effect here, and now the Glidesdale has 0 attack. So maybe it was misenchanted with Wind last turn, and he was trying to avoid the Sorlet. I'm not sure. I'd have to go back and take a look, to be honest. I might have missed that one, but it's all good here. Now he has the Spine Imp on the Glidesdale, bring its attack to 0. Looks like Drewby's got a water bottle cap on it to let everybody know that that thing has 0 attack. This has been a crazy clash. Boffin with just 2 spirits left looking to climb back. He's got an Elestral. It's going to be the Rumma Gem into defense position with 3 defense. That's going to thwart off the Quackle here and allow him to search his deck for any one of those Earth Elestrals. This is going to be tricky, though. What do you grab here if you're IronBoffin? He's going to grab the Equalinx. I think that's a smart play. Equalinx giving him 4 attack. It's going to be able to take out any runes. He could potentially get rid of that Arrowmare if he wanted to. I don't think he needs to. I think this all comes down to what does Drewby draw? Does he have an answer to the 3 defense Rumma Gem? He does have an Ambrosia, second one of the game, and this has been a huge difference maker for Drewby in this clash as the Quackle regenerated 3 spirits. 2 Ambrosias are regenerating plus 2 spirits. We're seeing some big spirit regeneration out of Drewby here, and you know, Boffin's only been able to really get that 1 Scythe play off. And there is a Sorlet, and that's looking like it's going to wrap up this one, ladies and gentlemen. Sorlet hits the field. He has the opportunity to disenchant that Glidesdale. Let's listen in for the last few moments.
It didn't do anything for me because you played Glidesdale instead.
You did try to big brain it, though. I'll put it in attack mode by expending 1 win.
Scavenge him, you poor sucker.
Sorlet will attack it,
Okay.
and then Quackle will attack for...
Well, it's technically not over. I could, but I can't play anything. So.
Oh, when you go to 0, it's not over?
You have to hit me past 0. All right, what if I get the top deck of a lifetime?
I already got mine to Glidesdale, so it'll all be fitting.
Actually, if you didn't take that 1 away from me, I probably could have. But that is GG, my friend.
Okay, so I did look back on the clash, and I will say I made an error in commentating. That first Spine Imp was Wind Enchanted, so he did ultimately use that strategy to try to stop a Sorlet, and it ends up biting him a little bit because he didn't have the effect. So it was kind of one of those like cat and mouse type games where he almost had the really cool strategy to make it work, but he kind of had it the wrong way around as Glidesdale hit the field. I think there was a few key misplays in this clash from both sides of the field, but I think we saw a really interesting game as both casters got out some really cool things. They got out their Boombats. We saw Glidesdale ascend from an Arrowmare. You'll love to see that on Drewby's end, and Drewby's going to move to 2-0 in the Elestriad with a dominant performance at the end of the day. Some really cool stuff going on here, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. I certainly did, even with some confusing moments there on my end. I apologize for that. But nonetheless, thanks so much for watching the Elestriad. Likes, comment, and subscribe, and we'll see you guys for the next clashes.